Hi everyone, welcome to Things Lucy Reads. I'm Luce and this is a Wednesday waffle. So, while I'm making this video today, I'm going to be adding some things into my TBR jar, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that because I'm rebranding it again for how many times have I done this? 3? 4? I've done it a lot. Anyway, I didn't want to be using a glass from that one fast food chain just because, God, I worked there for 7 years and it was hellish, and I don't really want to give them any more free advertising. Not that they need it because they're much more famous than I am, but I just it didn't feel comfortable to me to be doing that anymore. And also that glass was silly. I don't know whose idea it was to make a glass that doesn't have a flat bottom. I don't understand what the point of that was. Anyway, so I've acquired a new vessel for the TBR, and it's a little mushroom bin, which I did buy to be the bin in my room, but it's a bit small. But I think it would be perfect for the TBR, and it is much more in keeping with my general vibe than a glass with a burger on it that I don't even eat. So the structure of the videos themselves won't change. It'll still be like one slip of paper with a book title on it from each of these 3 colors. I actually have more titles than this to go in here, but I don't remember where I put this paper, so I have to find it before I can actually finish filling it up. This is most of the last year of queer book purchases, with a few exceptions. I don't want to be in this because I'm going to just read them. But yeah, and I've already been through it in a version of this video which I decided not to upload, in which I went through what books were already in there and took some out, either because I've already read them or because I have unhauled them or because I think I might unhaul them, which is something that I need to do roughly every 6 months because, you know, I read queer books outside of this video series, so sometimes there's like 10 books in there that I don't need to have on the TBR because I've actually already read them. So I've already done that, and now I just need to add in the new ones. Anyway, but now that, obviously I'm not calling it To Burger anymore because it's not in the burger glass, and I can't really call it the queering glass because it's not a glass anymore. And also I feel like that pun was a little bit too niche, and it was a reference to The Parting Glass, which is a song about all of your friends dying and you living on. That's a bit morbid, and it is not the energy I want to be taking with me for my channel in 2025. So we're rebranding, but now I need a new pun. So the only thing that I can come up with is mush read instead of must read. Mush read because it's a mushroom. But I think that that's not a great pun. So if you have any suggestions, I am all ears because that was just really not good. But yeah, apart from the title and the vessel of the TBR, everything about the videos will stay the same. I actually have one in the works, which I'm pretty sure I started filming in January of 2023. And I didn't finish it because, for one, my best friend collapsed a lung and nearly died in February of 2023. So that was a lot of fun. And then, like, I wasn't really keen on the books that I'd pulled, so I did another pull from the glass and kept just one of the original books as a bonus book. Actually, I think I actually reselected the books twice, but the first pull, I can remember filming this clip and I was like, there's no drama in this combination. It is 3 books that I'm pretty sure I'm going to like, and I don't think that I'm going to not get along with any of them in any way for any reason. So I pulled them again to get a group of books that I might actually have like a more in-depth opinion about. And not to say that you can't think critically or more in depth about a book that you really like, but just that I looked at it and thought, that's probably going to be a pretty boring vlog. I need to have some conflict with at least one of the books, and I pulled 3 books, and 2 of the books I had some very minor conflict with. Not in that I thought that they would be bad or that I didn't want to read them, but just that I thought that I maybe wouldn't like them. And I won't tell you how that went because spoilers. Yeah, so I've read 2 out of the 4 books for that video, and I did manage to at least film clips about like whether or not I liked them. And I just need to actually get around to reading the other 2, which hopefully that will happen pretty soon. It won't be in March because March is all filled up with my other readathon. Maybe in April though, but I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. We are heading into busy season at work, so who knows whether I'll actually have time. I think in last June I only read like 3 books because that's literally all I could make it through. So we'll see. I have made a small change to the video in that instead of only including physical queer books that I own, I have included the queer books that I have on Kobo. Not on Kindle though, because there's literally 1,000 of those. Not queer books, although mostly queer books, but just books in general. And it was just easier to include the ones that were on Kobo because it was a much smaller list. So that's a bit exciting. And just because like I sometimes can't make my brain sit there and read paper, but it will very gladly scroll on my phone for hours, and if I'm staring at my phone screen for hours, I might as well be reading a book. So that's a little brain hack that I've been employing for a little while. So yeah. So just a little bit of an update for this video series. I still think it's interesting. I really do like filming these videos and just seeing how I feel about the books as I go along, which is true of any book, but I don't know, it feels a little bit like a lucky dip to pull a title out of a jar. So yeah. As for otherwise on the channel, I've got 2 main videos that I'm actively planning to do. One is a rec list for books that have the same kind of vibe as what Fakedus Moon was writing. There were rec lists that came out at the time when we discovered that Fakedus was in fact a catfish and was not actually Latino like they'd claimed. I do think that maybe they are trans because all of the other pen names were also trans. Do you know what I mean? Like I feel like that's the one part of their identity that was actually true. I just can't get over the fact that they've tried this exact same thing like 6 different times with more or less the same like circle of the Booktinet, and they were so good at it that it like fucking worked every single time. Mind-blowing. Anyway, there were a bunch of rec lists that came out at the time, but it was pointed out while this was happening that a lot of the rec lists fell short because the people who made them were just like, oh, here's some books by authors who are actually Latine, which, like, fair enough. But recommending, for example, Cemetery Boys to people that had read Fakedus Moon just kind of fell short of the mark because, like, for Exodus 23 specifically, which was Fakedus's debut novel, it sits on the far end of the spectrum from Cemetery Boys being an adult queer erotic novella, whereas Cemetery Boys is a YA teen romance with no exploration of sex either on or off the page. And well, yes, Aiden Thomas is Latine and also trans. The books don't have anything in common apart from a trans Latine protagonist. And it's not to say that you can't really like Exodus 23 and Cemetery Boys. I really liked both of them before I found out that Fakedus was a fake. But Cemetery Boys absolutely does not scratch the itch that is left in your life after you read Exodus 23. They're completely different, and they're not, like I said, they've got absolutely nothing in common except the gender and ethnicity of the protagonist. And so since then, I've been kind of keeping my ear to the ground and compiling a little list of books that I think might pass the vibe check of being similar to Faktis's work, but not written by Catfish. So I've read one so far, and it passed. I'm also going to try and like maybe talk about which books of Faktis's they're most like. So this last book, initially I thought it would be like one of them, and then it ended up being, well, like that one, but only in superficial ways, and in terms of like actual themes and content, it was much more like one of the others. It does mean that I am probably going to have to read With a Vengeance, which is the only book of Faktis's that I never got around to reading. I do own it though. I'm not going to give them any more of my money that they don't already have, just in order to make a more well-rounded set of recommendations. I do feel like I should read it, because otherwise I might be like, oh, this book is nothing like any of Faktis's books, but actually it might be like With a Vengeance only, if you understand what I'm saying. Yeah. That's all I have for you for this video. If you have something to say, by all means, drop me a comment in the box below. If you don't have anything to say, but you just want to let me know that you were here, please leave me the mushroom emoji, and I'll know that you made it to the end. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.